Painter, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good.
You're pretty good. Thank you. I appreciate
It's
that.
a decent price, that's all I know.
Say again?
Does good painting and it's a decent price, so.
I thought it was decent.
We talked to quite a number of them before.
Is that right?
Good, glad you like them.
Yeah.
Good help you.
Okay, are we ready to call the meeting to order or? No problem. Okay. I call the May 16th, 2022 Municipal Authority meeting to order. Want to make an announcement that we did just come off of an executive session to discuss litigation matters. I'll take a roll call. Mark Kay,
Here,
Mr. Greco,
Yeah.
Mr. Rosenthal,
Here.
Paul Montefiore,
Here.
Maria Kane here. Jamie McCumby,
Here.
Steve Neese,
Here.
Mike Madron. Okay. And for the agenda here. Okay, can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You've all had a chance to review the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
motion.
Go.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any questions or
Second.
comments?
Fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I noticed there are some members of the public here. At this time, if there are any public comments on agenda items only. So if there's something on the agenda that you wanted to make a public comment about, please step up to the podium and give your name and your address. If not, we'll move on. Okay, hearing no request for public comment at this time, we'll move on. And I just want to make sure I've got the right date here. No, I didn't. I'll move this one. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the May 18, 2022 meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I have a slight omission on page 52 of the agenda packet, page 2 of the previous minutes. When we discussed the audit and we had a vote to accept the audit, I think it omitted 3 of the board members. It only has myself and Mark as having voted yes. So it's a typographical omission.
That could have been me, just taking the notes the wrong way on there.
Other
So
than that, that was my only, so I would,
can we make yes,
you-
well, April 18, yes. Yes, thank you so much. So why don't we could approve that subject to that one change. You
I
want me
think you
to?
call that a friendly movement and you can move on with the motion from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so accepting that friendly movement, we will take all those in favor of approving the minutes from the April 18, 2022 meeting with that minor change. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any announcements at this point? Is that Steve Neese, operations manager, anything?
Nothing else when it, sorry, nothing. When we get down to my report, I have a very quick piece, but that's it.
Yeah, okay. And then I think my, you have, can I have another copy of the agenda? Because I have one that wasn't updated. And sorry about that, guys. I downloaded it and I downloaded the last one, to tell you the truth. Oh, gosh. Okay. Treasurer's report. Is that Rich?
I have nothing further to add unless the board had any questions.
The mic on, Rich.
Any questions from the board? Okay, no questions. Do we typically approve the treasurer's report? I think we do, right? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the April 2022 treasurer's report?
Motion to approve.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, and now the engineering report from Mr. McCumby.
Madam Chairman, from last month's meeting, things that have been completed. The letter was sent, I personally sent out, as I said I would, the next day. The letter went out to the gentleman at 308 Echo Valley Lane. He did get back to talk to Nathaniel McCombie in my office. He was thrilled with the letter and what he had got. I know the next day, I believe that Jeremiah McCombie, my nephew, contacted Mr. K, and I believe they're in the process of trying to get all the issues that they had with the Camelot Pump Station resolved. I think they're ongoing, and I believe that is keeping Mr. K abreast of what's going on, and it's moving forward. The MPDS permit application was submitted in the time frame I was given. Following Friday, Scott Bush, the environmental biologist, signed off on the bog turtles, which was submitted as part of the application. Specifications for the replacement of the sewer along Westchester Pike was completed and forwarded to Mr. Madron for his review. I believe with other minor changes he found to be acceptable. I did provide Mr. K prior to, because the board, my recollection, approved the advertising subject to Mr. Madron's approval of the bid package and specifications. And there are dates that are scheduled for the project to be put out to bid. The advertising is anticipated to be June 6th as well as June 20th. The bid packages will be bid through Penn Bid, and they'll be available on June 6th. There'll be a pre-bid meeting on June 22nd. The bids will be due on July 18th at 10 a.m. and then will be announced at the July meeting of the authority. And then at that point, we can consider it and then make an evaluation to move it forward. One of the other things that has come up is that in the last couple of days, I believe it's Nancy Kerman Mazzani had come to the board probably now, might have been a year ago, with concerns about stream bank erosion affecting her property as well as an existing sewer line that runs through the property. At that time, the board directed Dave Porter of my office to go out and look at it, to express the concerns Dave came back and reported that it was an issue that needed to be resolved, but the board was waiting to schedule a time to move forward with the project. Since that time, I know Dave's been in contact with one of the contractors that we work with in Avondale, because I had the stream bank in Avondale on Indian Run and White Clay Creek was falling in and the road was falling in. And we used this ready rock material in combination with Gabions to establish the embankment to preserve the embankment and the roadway, and that job has been completed satisfactory. He gave us an anticipated cost. That job would have to be put out to bid. It's anticipated to be like between $30,000 and $40,000. I don't know if the residents here, but it was something that the board said when they started to get some of these other issues resolved that they would move forward with. I just wanted the board to be apprised that she had reached out to find out what the status of that project was. So somebody from our
When
office.
when did she reach
That
out?
was, I think, today, in fact.
Okay, so the homeowner reached out to you today?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just want the board to be aware that I received that notification. I also received a letter from a gentleman on Echo Valley Lane, and I talked to him this morning. He had a concern with regard to, he said that there's water leaching where he thinks the sewer lateral connection was concerned whether it was actual sewage or not. In the process of setting up a meeting, then go out and look at it. I haven't been out there, so it's only conjecture on my part, but it is probably groundwater in my conjecture because the area is wet over there. But we're going to have a definitive answer. He wanted to, hopefully somebody would get back to him within 30 days. I wasn't aware, apparently he called our office, left a message, and I
What
came
address
in.
is this?
This is at, let me get you the address. It is 411, oh, excuse me, it's not that, it's Goshen Road. It's 4111 Goshen Road. The gentleman's name is Francisco Yarrow. It's D''ARRO. And he said that he believes he has a lateral connection leak, but I know that area is susceptible to high groundwater table, and there's some springs and spring houses in that area, because I believe it's probably in the area of where Echo Valley Farms is, if people know that area.
So you're scheduled to go.
We're supposed to schedule, I've already talked to them in the process of getting the meeting date when either I or somebody else in our office can go out there. The other thing the board should be apprised of.
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure on timing on that, I mean, because.
I
you know,
received this letter today.
I know,
Okay.
but I'm just saying, like, in light of the fact that we're talking about water infiltrating, we want to make sure that someone's out there.
Oh, it needs to be done.
ASAP,
Yes, that's
you know?
correct.
Okay.
That's, and I totally
And
understand.
I totally appreciate your, expert, opinion and review of that situation, because, I mean, obviously, I appreciate that, but the sooner we come to that determination, the better.
Where it is I got it when I came into the office at 1 o'clock, because I knew I was coming here. Because last month I said I could have been here if somebody asked me to be here, and I didn't have to be on Zoom. I'm a big boy. I figured out how to drive a car a few years ago so I could get here. And since my office is a whole 2 miles from here, it wouldn't be that difficult. But I did see that on my desk when I walked in this morning.
I appreciate you bringing it to our
I did
attention.
call the gentleman up directly. I talked to Dennis O'Neill in my office. Dennis O'Neill contacted Jeremiah McCombie, who's dealing with Mark at Camelot, and told him to call him immediately. I'll find out tomorrow. If it's not done, then I'll call him again. I'll schedule the meeting. But I did talk to him. I said I have somebody from my office go out there and walk it with him to look at what the issue is. Like I said, I believe it's probably a groundwater, but you're right. I can't be, if it's a sanitary sewer leak or if it's leaching into the line, it's very important to get it resolved as quickly as possible. But I wanted you to be aware of that. The other thing I was
Can I
apprised of.
just interrupt a
Yep.
second? So this is either for you, Mr. McCombie, or Mr. Neese, but some type of a call that indicates a potential problem. Do we have a central registry of those and addresses and dates and who received the call and what the disposition is?
Or do they just go to you?
I can answer, yeah, because typically what will happen is we'll get a response of what's called a sanitary sewer overflow, which is an SSO, and we get them, we're out there within 30 minutes. looking at, we usually Harry Robinson or somebody from Steve's office calls us. We'll go out there, file a report with the EP and file a report with the township. So they know exactly the name, where it's at, the location, the day, and how it was addressed.
No, I'm only asking in case somebody had a question. How many times did we receive a communication from a resident that there's an issue? How many last year? How many last quarter?
Oh,
I'm a data guy.
we can provide
I'm
that
sorry.
information. That's,
Okay,
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanted to know if there was some central.
So, I mean, we don't necessarily keep a log like you would see, this is this date on this date, but like typically if somebody calls in and
That was
has a
my question.
report, we go out and what I do have is the log that of what we responded to in the field. And as Jamie mentioned, if it's an SSO, we are acting on it immediately. And then there's a report that has to be filed almost every time. And so when that happens, there's a paper trail for our whole process. So we don't keep a separate log for those.
and with that, the other thing is Mrs. Desmond, who lives on Hunt Valley Circle, had called our office concerning water that is getting into their garage,
Right.
which
right.
they feel it was a result of the sanitary sewer line going up their driveway. I know that she had spoken to David on the phone. I guess it was a concern because it was done 2.5 years ago, and why are we getting a phone call 2.5 years later? But to me, that's not the point. That the last week when it rained, my brother went out there on Saturday and saw it, and he discussed it with Dave and Nathaniel McConnell in my office. I said, I'm going to go out there myself. I was out there. I met Mrs. Desmond. I looked at it. It's kind of precarious how it is, and I'm going to need to take elevation. So I told her within the next week, somebody from my office will be taking elevations around her garage and all. And I have the existing conditions. I'll make a recommendation on what needs to get resolved, whether it's really an authority issue or not at this juncture. I don't know. I'm not worrying about the dollar amount for me doing the survey. It's not an authority issue. I'll just help the resident explain what to do. If it is an authority issue, I'll explain as well what to do. I told her probably the end of this week, beginning of next week, I'd have the elevations taken. The following week, I'll have like a sketch done. I'll be able to tell her. Because her concern is she wants to put an elevator in the garage for her. I don't know if it's her mother or mother-in-law. I asked her and she didn't answer me, but it's either her mother or mother-in-law. So I was out there with her contractor and looked at it, and hopefully we can get that resolved for her. But at this
Has
juncture, I
there
looked at
already
it.
been excavation there for the installation of that elevator?
Yes, it's
And like
it's
that-
inside the house. It's inside the building. It's not outside. She's
Okay.
saying that the water, and there's evidence that water has gone into the garage and there's some mud residual there. The main terrain that's there, at least the topography, is draining in that direction, which had nothing to do with our sewer project. But to bid the courtesy, we did put the sewer line down her driveway. So I said, fine, I'll look at it from that perspective to see the elevations wise of the drive, because when they paved her driveway, it's paved flush with the garage floor. And she's stating that she didn't have the water there before, and now it is. I didn't go into why we weren't told 2 years ago, because it was under warranty for 18 months, but I'm gonna see if I can get it resolved. The resident called, I went out, my brother went out there. I said, I'll just take care of it. I'll look at it myself. So I just wanted the board to be aware of that's what's happening. So they're the things I'm aware of since then. I know from last month, the board's frustration, and I think, I don't know if I can say that I was actually more frustrated by what you were telling me, but I know Mr. Porter's not a happy camper with me, but I don't care. We're trying to get the stuff done to best of our ability authority. I believe that every issue the authority brought up last month, I've addressed. If I didn't, please let me know and I'll get it done. But these are other things that have cropped up since then that I want the board to be aware of. The other thing is there's a complete package of the MPDS permit for the authority, and there's 3 bid specifications. There's one for Mr. Madron, there's one for Mr. Neeson, one for the board for the file. So they're sitting here. I just want you to be aware of that. And if the board has any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer them if I can.
Yeah, with respect to the pump station at Old Masters, you were gonna let us know, what the status of the warranties were and
I
provide.
still haven't gotten an answer back from Mr. Chilson, because he said every contractor except for one was going to extend the warranty. That's my fault. I'll have to talk to David to find out. You're right, that was one of the things I'm supposed to do. Apparently, I failed, it slipped my mind, I failed to do it. But I'll write it down.
Yeah, we need that
and
information,
I'll get you
and
an
I'd like
answer.
you to get that to Mr. Madron ASAP.
That's fine, and I think you did see the response back from Ford Brothers.
Yes.
They're willing to do it, but they put a comment in that, the contract was issued 4 years ago. The prices have gone up, which I can't dispute. They haven't gone up. And the project was delayed, which is no fault of their own. But I told them I need to see what the prices are to bring them to the authority before I can authorize you to go ahead. And it looks like, obviously, from the other issues, looked like the other things were positive that obviously, I presume you've talked about it. I wasn't going to go into it, but the other aspect is positive. So I haven't got that issue done, but I will find out with as far as the warranties go.
Okay, and yeah, I think we're okay on all of that then, right, Mike, as
Yeah,
far as
I think
getting
the only other thing, and I'm sorry,
on that particular pump station issue.
on that particular pump
Yeah.
station issue.
And then I know I had one other issue I wanted to bring up. Okay, and then the easement through the Seahawk Swim Club Dave Porter was supposed to reach out to the owner there.
Obviously, if you look at my face, you got me by surprise because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay,
So Jamie, there's I think less than a 5 foot or.
Oh, I know
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
what
it's
you're
a very
talking
small
I-
area.
I know.
And it's a very,
about. Yeah, because I did get a call from Greg Edelman. Greg Edelman said that they had the easement because they put the line through there and it goes back, oh, no, we don't. Yeah, so now I know what you're talking about. I was thinking I'm thinking Suburban Swim Club because I used to swim there when I was like 8 and 9
it was
years old. So
called
there's a
called something
different name.
else, yeah, back.
So we're supposed to move forward to try to obtain the easement from them.
So yes,
Okay.
and Dave said he would be reaching out to the
I can't say if he did or didn't,
property owners.
but if he didn't, I will.
Okay,
No, I
we-
know. That's
we
what it's
need
called,
an
Seahawk
Update
or
on that
something.
in the next
I
week.
think it's,
I would
some
say.
people still know it by Suburban, others know it by Seahawk, Suburban Seahawk.
That's why when you said that, I was caught by surprise, but that's
It's
fine.
it's
I know exactly the piece you're
that's
talking
the
about now.
piece.
Yeah,
And
because-
we have somebody on Dogwood that's waiting to hook up pending that.
Because it's probably the gentleman I talked to on the phone. He asked me, because he asked me like 35 questions and I answered all his questions. He goes, that's fine, but he wanted to know when he can hook up.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one.
And-
I get it.
So-
I get a request about once every 20 days.
All right,
Okay.
before the end of the week, can we have status on communication
Absolutely.
with that club regarding the easement?
And that's your understanding as well, Mr. Madron, that Greg Adelman, that's what he told me. I don't know if he had
Yeah.
contacted you.
My understanding is that somehow or another it became our responsibility to obtain that easement, but his client did not. Pipe is in the ground already. They'd like us to accept dedication of the pipe, and of course, we're reluctant to accept dedication of something that.
Well, that's what my point was to him, and he alleged there was some document signed in the early 2000s
That's what he says.
that says that it's the authority responsible. I'm like, I was alive, I just wasn't on the authority until 2012. So if that agreement doesn't, I can't dispute what he's saying, but I haven't seen
I
it.
haven't received it from.
Okay, so you haven't either.
Nope.
But we'll move forward and try to, yeah, it's a small strip of ground. And we'll move forward. I will let you know what our contact is. I apologize.
Okay, anything else for the engineer? Okay, and does that conclude your report, Jamie, or do you
Yes.
have anything else?
That's all I have at this time.
Okay. All right, that's Steve Neese, Operation.
Yeah, the
Management
only thing
Report.
I have is just to let you know that we did meet with DEP regarding the Equus request for some additional flow. We are working with, Dave Porter was there. We're working with DEP, Equus, and as well as Dave Porter to work out some numbers there, but it is in the process. You may see something related to the flow that they already have related to their office building in the next month or so, but the other, I think, is going to probably take a little bit longer.
Okay. All right, we look forward to that. Okay, moving on. 12.1, consider approving the transfer of tap-in fee and infrastructure fees collected in 2021 as follows. Transfers $76,403.19 from the SR2 operating fund to the SR2 capital fund. This transfer represents the infrastructure fee collected in 2021. Also, the transfer of $9,432 from the SR2 operating fund to the SR2 capital fund. This transfer represents tap-in fees collected in 2021. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, another one, third, oh,
There's
two
actually
more, that's
two
right.
more, yeah.
Transfer $38,174,061 from the SR3 operating fund to the SR3 capital fund. This transfer represents the infrastructure fee collected in 2021. Also transfer $542,484.02 from the SR3 operating fund to the SR3 capital fund. This transfer represents tap-in fees collected in 2021. Can I have a motion now?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay,
Was that-
any, second was Mark K. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. All right, may I have a motion to approve check register A dated May 15, 2022, totaling $15,356.55 based on the check register provided. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mark. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, 14.1, consider approving a payment from the bond totaling $6,300 to John and Pamela Lairdison for a lawn restoration work completed at 321 Crum Creek Lane, Newtown Square, contingent upon solicitor approval. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, 14.2, consider approving payment from the bond totaling $23,796.65 to Catania and Parker LLP for professional services associated with the 537 public sewer project. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consider ratifying a payment from the bond totaling $8,750. The office for the Office of Judicial Support for estimated compensation for an easement located at 4700 Westchester Pike, Newtown Square.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consider approving a payment from the bond to Herbert McCumbee Engineers for Part 2 permit work. Public sewer project as listed below, $3,873.12 for work completed relative to the Camelot service area, and $263.25 for the work completed relative to the Ashford service area.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consider approving the payments listed below. These payments represent duplicate sewer payment refunds. Jeffrey Wapples of 114 Bryn Mawr Ave in the amount of $190.21. And Robert Cheeseman of 3434 Tyson Road in the amount of $53.50. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Yep. Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, under new business, discussion and possible action regarding entering into an agreement with the low-income household water assistant program to assist qualified residents with delinquent sewer accounts. There was some information in our package regarding that. Are there any?
I have a couple of comments.
Yeah, I
on-
thought
on
Mike, you
this.
might. Okay,
Um,
great.
One is that this agreement requires you to keep some information confidential that I'm not sure you can under right to know. So I think we need to do a little work with it. And just as far as the mechanics, I think we need to sit down and talk about how it might work with Portnoy.
Right.
If you've assigned something over and then you get one of these payments, how does that go? Because remember, the Portnoy payments are applied first to Portnoy's costs, and that might not work with this situation. So, I'd ask that you probably aren't ready to, or I'd suggest that you probably aren't ready to take action on this month. If you do, that it'd be done subject to somebody's approval so that I can work with Steve and Rich and see if we can figure out some of the minutia on this thing.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions which maybe were not apparent. First of which is, I'm sure the authority has an EIN, which was the first step in sort of being able to do this. So I needed to understand that. The second was the underwriting and approval, if you will, of somebody who might apply. And it gets into a lot of things. Is that totally on the state program?
As far as,
Saying yes or no?
yeah, it's on the state program, yeah.
Okay.
So they apply to the Department of Welfare, I believe it is. And then Department of Welfare approves or disapproves, and would, if you're in this program.
Okay.
maintain
And not that
employment.
I like the program, the way I read it. I just want to understand what onus it places on the authority
Right.
and or the township to administer and record keeping and.
Well, there's
all of this.
certainly some onus on the
Okay.
township, and if you receive one of these payments, you're obligated. Now, we're not turning off water anyhow, so it's sort of neither here nor there, but you're obligated to turn the water back on if that's something you ever decide to do for a period of 90 days, and then you can take further action after that.
Well, I think it sounds like it would be, does anybody else have any questions about that? Might be best if Mike, you could work with Steve and the township and just get through some of these issues that I think have raised after your review.
Yeah.
And let's table it for the next meeting. Is everybody okay with that?
I agree.
Okay, all right, so we'll table 15.1 and we'll put that on the next meeting agenda. Should give you enough time, right, Mike, to,
I think so. I mean, it can't be a novel situation. There's a lot of municipal authorities out there. So I think with contact to them, we can probably work through some of this. It's almost written like it's written for a private utility.
right.
So maybe we got the wrong version or something like that. So
I felt like it
conversation might
was
work
aimed
through.
more for like an aqua
Yep.
or.
Yeah.
Sure
Totally,
does.
Yeah, and I think the fact that we don't supply the water as well makes it cumbersome, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'd appreciate it. You get back to us on that. Next is consider approving a property appraisal for the property located at 4700 Westchester Pike, Newtown Square. I don't remember, this was for the easement? Yeah. and-
This is for the.
Yeah, so this is, and it's related to the 537 plan, right? It was, yeah. So we need an easement here, and in order to get this done, we've got to get the appraisal. So I'll make the motion.
Second?
Any questions or comments, additional questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye. Do we need the motion first?
I made the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I did,
You
right?
did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you did.
yeah.
Okay.
Consider approving the township arborist at the rate of $110. Is that per hour or is that
Yes.
just a flat?
It's per hour.
Okay, so why don't we kind of, is that a friendly change, Mike, that I can make to that? Okay. Consider approving the township arborist at the rate of $110 per hour to investigate tree matters associated with punch items related to the sanitary sewer extension and any other necessary services on behalf of the municipal authority. Wasn't that related to a certain property, though?
Well, so the discussion I think we had was, thank you, Steve. The discussion we had was that, yes, there's a particular property where a homeowner raised this issue. It's an issue that might come up again and again, so it would be good just to set a rate and have somebody available for the administration to use when they need it.
Thank you. Probably.
And the only other question, is there an official township arborist?
There is,
Osbach.
and this is the township arborist who's given us the same bid that he gave for the township.
That's John Osbach. Steve,
Excuse me?
is that John Osbach?
It is.
All right, can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it. Any questions or comments?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, with respect to old business, do we have a debt service update from you, Rich?
Tom, you want to?
Oh, I'm sorry, you got,
Yeah.
sorry, okay, I thought
So
maybe,
we had our second meeting.
Yeah.
As a follow-up to what we briefed this body on last month. We actually reviewed the every year from now until the bond is fully paid off. We reviewed the debt service requirements, and we've also discussed factoring in a necessary capital expenditures for repair and maintenance of the SR2 and SR3 systems between now and forever, just to ensure that outside of normal operations of charges that come from our conveyance partners and the rates that we charge for that, that we're adequately collecting fees to maintain the system going forward. So along with looking at how we make the debt payments, we're also including in as a target our required payments that we'll make over time. Pumps will fail, pumps will age, and we want to be proactive and make sure that those things are covered. We haven't figured out yet, and we don't have a scheme for how we pay for those things. Right now, we're in a good position. We've got the next couple of 3 years and the ability to pay for those things. And so this is really future looking.
I agree that I don't really have too much more to ask. It's a very complicated subject. You know, this bond that we are dealing with is that terminates in 2048. Currently it's at a little over $2 million a year, 2.114, I think is the right number, something like that. But as Louis said, other factors needed to be included in that. SR2, which has been around for a lot longer, it's obviously going to be incurring some prices and so on and so forth. And last but not least, what's the right process going forward? You know, we have SR2 and SR3. Is that the way it's dealt with now? Is that the way we want to go going forward, or is there some other process that maybe we want to present?
very good. Well, I mean, we appreciate everything you guys are doing, and it's really good work.
So I do think, I don't mean to interrupt
No,
you,
no.
but I do think the one thing that would be helpful is if the board is in agreement that the subcommittee could start having some time with our solicitor to really start nailing down if there's any legal matters regarding some of the solutions that we're starting to come up with, so that we can work through that ahead of time, so that when we come back to make presentations to you, that they're actually viable presentations and not just, oh, that was a great idea, but it doesn't work
It's illegal.
because. And so there's a couple thoughts that have come to the table that I think require some, at least a little bit of research on behalf of our solicitor to make sure that we're covered as we move forward.
Well, I mean, just to be efficient, then I would ask both Lou and Tom to identify those issues that you think, that are raising potential legal issues.
We have,
Yeah.
and Mr. Neese is correct. I don't want to start picking up the phone and ringing up, countless
Yes.
hours and things like that. But we have identified a number of issues which, again, they sound like great ideas. They may not actually,
Be good ideas because.
well, they're
of
great
some of
ideas,
the-
but
yes,
they may
they're great
not be
ideas, but
doable.
they may not be workable.
The state
as
of
a result.
Pennsylvania may not allow us to do these great ideas, and so we just want to make sure we're
Right.
within the guidelines of all the laws that are out there related to this.
Well, so that would be my request and suggestion is that the questions are consolidated and efficiently provided
Yep.
in the best interest
Great.
of the authority.
We will do that.
Okay, is there any questions for Tom or for Lewis? Okay, all right, we are going to move on then to public comment on non-agenda items. Does anybody from the public, okay, if you come up to the podium?
Yes.
Yes, only because
yeah.
we've
Yes,
got
you
the
must.
video thing. I apologize.
And audio.
Yeah. And just state your name and your address.
Okay. Hi, good evening. My name is Gita Therasalvam, and I am the owner of 318 Bishop Hollow Road. If you look out the window, you can see my home is 2 doors up right here on Bishop Hollow Road. It's a stucco house. It's the one with the long driveway that has 3 houses on it. My brother Vipul Jani is also here. He's the owner of 316 Bishop Hollow Road, which shares the same driveway. And then there's the last house is my youngest brother, Amit Jani. So I'm here tonight because I received a letter on November 2nd from the Municipal Authority, 2015, regarding the installment of Sewers Act 537. At that time, I became very excited. I called McCumbie's office. I spoke with Dave Porter. Dave explained to me that there were going to be surveyors coming out, what was going to happen. Bottom line, I said, okay, how long are we talking? How much is this going to cost me? And he said 2 to 3 years and approximately $6,390 for $6,390 for a tapping fee. Surveyors did come out, did whatever measurements they needed to do. Then September of 2017, I called again because there was no action. And again, I was told a couple of years. I called December of 2020. Again, we're looking Camelot pumping, so on and so forth. And so now it's 2022. No activity has happened. We have owned that home since 1979. The septic system was put into that home in 1955. I am spending thousands and thousands of dollars a year, hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month, having the septic system pumped. It's at a point where it's beyond that, and I have sewage that is leaking into my driveway. It is an environmental hazard. The neighbor that lives right in front of us, the Demopoulos family that is right across here, they're very upset. So I have been calling, what do I need to do? And I'm just here to ask the municipal authority to please honor, what I was told and the letter that was sent to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we can give you a summary of the timeframes. I mean, of when the the 537 plan needed to go through.
I can answer the question. No problem answering the
Well,
question.
did you have, Steve?
Unless Steve wants.
I was just going to defer to your
No, I
engineer.
will, but I just want to make one statement first. I mean, obviously you got that letter and then the 537 plan was held up due to litigation, okay, which is no fault of anybody here, including you. So, this township, moved forward, or this authority moved forward with establishing sewer for your property as we did everything within our control, right? And then that process was stopped. Now, with respect to where we go from here, I'm going to turn it over to our engineer and he can give you an answer on what the time frame is for when these homes will be able to get hooked up at this point. We are still having some issues, also related to litigation, but to the extent we don't have to touch on that, give us an update.
Okay,
Jamie.
where the project was put out the bid, when the other projects were put out the bid, it was a separate phase. The bid came in at $1 million. There's only like 7 homes that would be connected by the line. So the authority didn't feel it was warranted to spend over $100,000 a house to build a line to connect the houses. So they rejected the bid and never put it out to bid again. At the time, it was intended to put a line in that would also help serve the Newtown Edgemont Little League as well. So it was a combination of serving those homes and otherwise. At that point, once they rejected the bid, nothing else had transpired. Whether the authority wants to look at another option, because other options are, but I would need to, pretty much the projects that got in, except for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5, people gave easements for $1. And that, so the issue is maybe to look at putting a line through the back of the properties, because the first, I don't know who owns the first property,
I can tell you.
because the first property, I think, has sewer. There's a sewer line
Yes.
that runs down.
Yeah.
The line,
Right.
the cheapest way to put it would be to put it along the rear of the properties and take it all the way up
Right.
to the hill and let it come down. But the issue is some of the properties, obviously, like you said, are deeper to get the line in and to serve the Newtown Edgemont Little League as well. And some of the houses in the front, the line was fairly deep and it was in a state highway. And when the price came in, the authority said, you know, we're not going to spend $1 million to have like 7 or 8 houses in.
Right.
And they just dropped it. They rejected the bid, dropped the project, and it was never discussed. And I know that Newtown Edgemont Little League looked at different alternatives of how they could tie in, you know, I mean, which is pumping and taking out to Pine Street and taking it down to the township park behind the municipal building and stuff like that. But that's sort of where it was left. There was no other direction to look at another alternative.
So, you know,
That was, I think the job was put out to bid in 2018.
Okay.
But that's when the bids were received.
so my mother always said, don't come to me with a problem without a solution. So,
I like your mother already.
okay, so I've been looking for solutions since we've owned that house. When I spoke with Dave, he did say, yes, easiest thing would be to go through your neighbor. And we have talked to the neighbors, all right? The challenges that we have there is that neighbor is not the sole, they are amenable to it. However, there is a great language barrier there, and they are not the only individuals that own that property. They own it with their 3 children. So to get an easement, it's not just getting it from Chris and Olga Demopoulos, it's getting it from Chris and Olga and their 3 children. Their concern is, what's it going to do to the property value? What guarantees do I have if I give you permission to do this, that you're going to put in the right line? My line that I put in is only a 4-inch line. You can't hook through my line. And I said, no, the way Dave explained it to me is that we run a parallel line that would be able to accommodate not only our home, but in the future, the 2 properties behind us, and then potentially the homes up the street too. So again, time is very limited for me. I'm beyond running out of time. So, that means we get a lawyer, they get a lawyer, their kids get lawyers. How much longer is that going to take? The other option is that, we are less than 700 feet here from the sewer. I contacted a number of contractors. There he is. Rich is here from Mid-Atlantic Mechanical, has been very, very helpful. And he has actually spoken with the engineers. He's drawn up, the line, everything is ready to go. And I should let him speak and not, if he wants to speak. But so, I've done the legwork, only because I didn't want to come to
Let's
you.
ask Jamie.
Yeah.
She's given 2 options here.
Right.
Can we have you address those two options?
Well, I don't, is the other option a low pressure sewer? Is that what you're looking at?
Uh,
I walked with Rich and walked the Newtown Edgemont. And Rich and I years
is it a
ago.
low pressure here? I don't know the answer to that question because it's all,
Because it depends where it's going, because the
Yeah.
concern is if they're not willing to grant the easement, you can't get it. The authority, if they're inclined to put a public sewer, would have to condemn their property and go through that process to get an easement. If it's going to come out to the street, that's a whole nother issue. How deep
Right.
it is, where it's actually going. Is it in the public right of way? It isn't. I mean, they're the things, I'm not aware that Rich has discussed it with our office with that. I did discuss with Rich, and I personally walked with Rich, how the Newtown
Right.
Edgemont Little League could
I
tie
think
in,
Rich
but
can
not
answer
with
some,
those.
right, I think Rich can answer some questions, answer some of your questions here.
All right, wait, can I hear from the other homeowner first, because you're on that street as well? So, all right, why don't you go up and give us your name and your address?
Should I sit down?
You can stay right there for now.
Hi, I'm People Jenny, 316 Bishop Hall. I'm the second house in. So if you're looking at her house, I'm the one with the white fence, white porch rail thing sideways. And so the effluent that's coming off the line that she's talking about, the tank that she's talking about, hits the driveway right in front of the house. So this isn't just a matter of, it looks like something's going on. I'm seeing it, I'm driving over it. Can't walk barefoot down there.
The smell,
The smell is bad.
it's an environmental
I
hazard.
think we can take,
can take our
judicial
word on
notice of the fact that you are having some problems with the sewer.
There's
And that you
definitely been
need to,
problems for a while.
so I
She's
think
been-
I want to focus here on what are the options?
Yeah.
We have the benefit of our engineer
Right.
here, who I'm hoping could give us some guidance on where to take this, because we're not going to solve it here tonight.
Oh, no, we're not.
But-
I don't think we're
But
gonna get there.
if there are options that are reasonable to this authority, and those can be explored, either both after we, adjourn this meeting, and get an update at the next meeting, I'm happy to do that. But I mean, it's not going to be productive for us. I mean, we certainly can't make a decision here tonight
Of
as
course,
to
we
what's going to
understand that.
happen.
We're looking for
I
guidance
understand
at
that.
this
We're looking
point,
for
right-
guidance
right
and
this
just,
moment.
No, and I'm glad
You
you
know.
came, because it obviously brings the issue, we're putting faces to the names, and,
Yeah, because other,
Rich has to say.
I believe that he'll be able to give a great detail of information that we're all looking for to get help.
all right, do you
Understand
think
this.
that would be
no,
beneficial,
it may,
Jamie?
it may be, Maria, because the other option is they would have to find another place to put an on-site sewage system on their property. There's two different issues. One, if you have a failing system, then it needs to be reported to the sewage enforcement officer for the township, which is separate from the authority. The unfortunate
Has it
thing,
been
Trying to
reported?
avoid going that direction.
the unfortunate thing is he's an employee of mine, who's the sewage enforcement officer, but it's a completely separate entity than the authority.
Sure, so
and I've looked into that.
Right.
Having another septic system on the property.
They're not cheap.
They're-
not cheap.
Yeah, well, my issue with that is, that I believe that I see that as another temporary solution. It's a temporary solution because septic systems last, what, maybe 20, if we're lucky, 30 years. And they don't, and again, I don't know all the details in this, but I've done as much as research as I possibly can without getting, totally frustrated. That now they do, there's mounds, and so now we're looking at a mound in my front yard, a big hill. People drive by, see this big hill on the front yard,
Well,
chopping down trees,
to stop, it depends
Yeah.
on
there's all
the
kinds of different
soil
systems.
makeup and all. I design them as well for a living. The development I live in has a community on-site system that's been there for 40 years. And it has on a siphon and it still operates. So it may be pressurized distribution, but there's subsurface sand, some are
There's like
sand
6 different
mounds,
systems
there's
of-
drip dispersion, there's all
Yeah.
kinds of things.
But
So
again,
if-
that's an
if I may-
exorbitant expense
Right.
for us, the
So-
property owners, when I've already incurred an exorbitant expense, waiting for what I thought was gonna happen in 2 to 3 years, that now I'm at a
But there's
position.
No
Yeah.
update to know from 18 to now.
There were,
The town
well,
was
just
shut
so you
down.
know, I mean, the township on its website advertised numerous meetings we had regarding.
Yeah, and that's fine,
The
but you know, as a
planning, you know.
homeowner, that's not what, I'm not looking at that. I'm just going by the letter that I have. Okay, I'm waiting, you know, and that's fine. And, you know, I know that there are township meetings. Frankly, I didn't know that there were municipal authority meetings. This is not what I do, you know.
Right, I got you. I
Um,
got you. Well, we're,
I mean, you
listen,
know,
I was
this,
on
I
this
mean,
board.
yeah.
years
yeah.
ago.
Oh, good. Well,
and
then
I don't
you
want to
can
think
help.
about
She started
this.
talking to me about this and I said, we need to go in front.
This is not something necessarily that I want to think about, but
Yeah.
it's in my face.
So how many
every day.
on your street want to connect to or want to have some?
Well, right now it's
Just-
318. I would like to have the option of, you know, having a line put in that would enable the 2 houses behind us at some point when they are ready to connect, that they to have a line big enough where they could connect. If the line runs up the street, you know, the way Rich has looked into, then we could possibly have, you know, a line that is there existing that has been initiated by our property that the other residents could come in and connect. So I have not spoken to the other residents, and I haven't pursued that with them. You
Okay.
know, I can.
Jamie, do you think it's worth us reaching out to the rest of the homeowners on that?
That's up to the board. I think most of them at the time were interested in tying into the public sewer. The issue is what the options are, how deep, whether, because the township and the authority were trying to get people to tie in by gravity as much as possible.
Right.
If the line is raised, some of them probably can tie in by gravity. Some of them will have to use a grinder pump, but it'll probably be infinitely cheaper to install the line than it would be trying to get them all by gravity because of how far some of them have to go because their properties are recessed back. That mechanism, if it's in the public right of way, doesn't need an easement. Just need a state highway permit and
So with these
Move ahead.
houses here, and I'm just thinking, you know, again, I don't know anything about what I'm talking about, but the houses would, because of the way the houses slope up the hill, would that be a gravity situation or would that be?
because it's largely coming down, it's easy to put the gravity line down. The problem is some of the houses are 300 and some feet back.
Yep.
They can't get the grade, the minimum grade to tie into the line unless the line's like 16, 17 feet
You gotta like
deep.
this, you gotta drop like this, drive that.
And then
force
those
and go.
people, yeah, those people are, their line's getting deeper for them because it'll be fairly shallow at their house. But as you start fighting the grade to get into the line, now their laterals may be 18 and 19 foot deep
So
to get in.
may I? I apologize, and I'm sorry that it's taken this long for you to get what you thought you were getting years ago. I actually, the last mile and the last bits of a large project like this are always the most difficult. It's easy to get the initial ones done.
Sure.
And I'm speaking for myself, not for the other 4 board members, but I think that we should be clever and creative in terms of getting to that. I'm using the term last mile, but the last connections that we can. I mean,
If that's an option, that's the problem.
if it's an option, and you know, it may have been bid out at $1 million, and it may have been a gravity-fed line, but if there are other ways to accomplish this, I think it behooves us to look at those things. And I'm looking at you,
Yeah,
Mr.
well,
McCombie,
the
because
cheap-
you're our engineer.
All right, what, okay,
And
let's just do this
may I
then.
finish, please?
Okay, go ahead. I thought you were trying to wrap it up for us.
I was trying to get my opinion out.
Okay.
And whatever we can do to get there, I think we need to do that. We can't have sewage coming out in our town on anybody's property. It's just, it's
Well,
incongruous
if you
with
have an
living in a nice.
operating, if you have an
neighborhood.
operating septic system and it's not functioning properly, then that's the homeowner's
Yeah.
issue.
Thank you
So-
very much for the time.
So I'm looking at, we have some potential options here. We're we're just looking to talk to you about it, see how we can get things jump started from the stall that we've had in 2018.
Okay, so what I'm gonna ask is that, Jamie, that you work with these people, your company work with these homeowners, okay? And determine what the options are. Their contractor, I don't think you're under contract at this point. Am I right?
Not yet, but I mean,
yet.
Okay.
he's given a very
Well, I mean,
reasonable.
Also take into account the option that's being presented by their contractor to determine whether or not that's whether or not that's going to be feasible to hook up at the street. So, and then, I mean, you're going to have to come back to us with these options and whether or not they are workable. And if they're not, we need to get them an answer.
From the board's consideration, if Mr. DeMarco is going to represent you, it'd probably be easier for me to deal with Mr. DeMarco directly. I
I'm
can
fine
deal with
with
both and try to see
I
where
know,
he's coming
I
from.
I
would
think that's-
prefer that.
Yeah.
Well, that was my
because
point, when what
yeah.
you were saying, you
Yeah.
may not.
I would like Mr. DeMarco to have, I'm trying to give him,
Well, I
a
don't,
chance
think
to
it's not,
speak.
like, there's
Right.
nothing we can do. Like, I think having your contractor come up here and give us his option is gonna be
Until I see.
a little more detailed than what you just provided, which is great, but it's not, we're just gonna be discussing engineering issues.
but I think he
that-
just does want to say something really quick if we can let him,
Okay, go ahead, please. Please state
Mr.
your name,
DeMarco,
please
we
state
need
your
you to
name
come
and your
up to the mic,
company.
please.
We can make a drawing, which we have, present it to you. If you think if it works, then we can go ahead and do it, not come back here and go through this again.
Can you just state your name and your company for the record so that,
That's the Marco Mid-Atlantic Mechanic. The good guys. That's the story of it. Right now, from the line that you told me, to have that line we can pick up, we can make gravity to their house. And that far house, your far house back there may have to get pumped. And the pump you have out on all the other, on our drawings, that pump will work. And everything should go. My question here is, I'd like to see the Little League get an answer here. If we're
well, are
right at
you
this
here on
point-
behalf of the Little League or are you here on behalf of this homeowner?
Well, I have a letter from the Little League. The Little League wants, this has been going on for years with the Little League too.
That's a side piece side conversation he's bringing in, the Little League, it's just because they're right there.
No, I
But
live
he's
here, I've
working
lived
with
here
us
for
right now.
26 years, so I know exactly where the Little League is, so, yeah.
Very good. All I'm saying is at that point, if we can come up with a drawing that shows the Little Leagues that can get involved with it, then will that work?
It depends. The Little League, we had a line because you showed the
Yeah,
line,
but-
but I know what the cost is. It depends what the cost is. Anything can be done,
Yeah.
depends on who's paying for it and what the cost is.
Well,
Because I know the Little League, their option was $115,000 or $20,000 to tie in.
The Little League will take care of the Little League. That's not the issue.
The answer is,
Can we?
well, I'd have to
Like,
see what,
Everybody's entitled to an outlet. Like these people here, they're entitled to an outlet. Every house you did here, you have a stake on every house. They don't have a stake on their house.
there's no line built.
What's that?
There's no line for them to tie
I
into.
understand. There's no stake.
That's why
So
they don't have a
can't go
stake,
nowhere.
because there's no line.
I understand, but you have a line right down over there that can come up. Why you guys didn't bring it up, I don't know.
I just told them why we didn't bring it up, because it cost $1 million to bring the line up.
Okay, so if they talk,
Yes,
because I know
yes.
everybody wants to get home, if they talk, how will I get updates? Do I get updates from Rich? Do I get updates from Mr. McCombie? Do I get them from Dave Porter? I just don't want another 2 to 3 years to go by because I don't
Well,
have
we
time
need
on
to,
my side.
I think it's reasonable to get you an answer within the next 30 days as to
We
which
shouldn't
of
have to
the
come back
options
here.
we've discussed
You guys come
tonight
back here.
Okay.
are a possibility. If there are no options, I think you should know that. Jamie, within 30 days, is that reasonable?
Yeah, and the issue is, I'll do whatever the authority asks me to do. The issue, what I don't hear, if the authority has to pay a nickel it's got to come back to the authority. If the authority's not paying for it, you just have to meet the township's regulations and the authority's regulations. So those issues
That's kind of,
need to be
that's
resolved.
kind of, excuse me, that's really not fair to these people at all. It was,
Well, when you're saying that they don't have to come back to this board, my answer is they do have to come back
If
to the
it's gonna
board
cost
if they're
the
spending
authority
authority money.
you
I'm not
under-
saying the authority's not
But
going
the
to spend
authority-
money.
the authority should have brought a sewer line up for them.
They didn't. That's what
It's not, it wasn't
It made
approved.
no
It
economic
wasn't
sense.
approved.
Why?
Because we weren't going to charge them $100,000 of property to tie the
Are
sewer
they
in.
entitled to a sewer line?
It
They
was-
live in the
listen,
township.
it was
It's
either
their
fee,
township.
from what, excuse me,
You're
sir.
wrong.
So,
You're wrong.
okay, well, we're here now. You know, we can only go forward from here, right? Okay, so this authority did not approve that line, okay? For reasons that were,
It wasn't
Prudent
cost
at the
effective.
time,
I understand.
okay?
It wasn't
Right,
cost
right.
effective.
so
So
at this stage,
Yes.
we need to look
understood.
at the facts
Understood.
as they stand
I
today
understand. And if.
and provide options if there are available.
Understood. I
I mean,
understand.
Jamie, if there's an economically feasible option, okay, if it's gonna cost the municipal authority money and it's economically feasible, which I would say, you know, when looking at a per home hookup, then we'll come back here. Other than that,
That's fine.
if it's just going through our normal channels of getting you hooked up through the other option that your contractor had mentioned, and that can be handled without coming back to us. We just follow our
I understand.
processes,
I understand.
okay?
I understand. Okay, so we will work.
And we
with-
appreciate you coming in. We really do.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. And we want people to be on sewer. That's why we're here,
Believe me, sewer is on my mind more than you can imagine.
more than,
I-
more
I
than it
had
should
Ever
be.
wanted it to be. So, all right, thank you for your time.
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay.
So it's finalized, what's going on?
Well, you two.
We're
are gonna talk.
we're moving on.
We're gonna talk.
And any other public comment? I see some other. Thank you, again, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I'm Nancy Mazzone Kerman. I live at 314 Summit Avenue. I've been on the agenda, 314 Summit Avenue has been on your agenda through 2021, and it came off of the agenda in November. And just in a nutshell, because I know it's late and everybody wants to go home. But I contacted Dave Porter back in 2020. My husband, who's deceased, brought this issue up again and again to the township after our sewer line was put in 2001, where we had railroad ties on our creek bed that acted as a restraining wall. When they came through with the sewer, they tore them all up and didn't put them back in. So I've had erosion. We've had erosion back there significant, to the point now that the sewer main is really close to the creek bed. There were two issues. One was, I was concerned about the main so close to the creek bed now. The other is, I signed an easement in 2001 that said that the township would keep the creek bed to its original condition. And there was no expiration date on that easement. So it hasn't been maintained. It's continued to erode. I'm losing property. Dave Porter has been he has tried and did an infiltration study, and that was, some of you may recall that. He has been diligent. He has been responsive to me, but nothing's getting done. Now it was taken off of the agenda. I don't know why it was taken off. I was here in October.
Just
the
to
4th.
interrupt on that, since you said it was taken off the agenda because there isn't an action item for us to review, that doesn't mean that we are not actively working with you through our contractors to resolve this issue. Okay, I just
Okay.
want to put that out there. So it
Okay.
doesn't need to be on the agenda for it to be on our
Okay,
action items and
Well-
on our radar. We are fully aware of this issue. And in fact, that is one of the things I was looking for an update from Dave tonight, who's not here, but
yeah, he gave me an update today,
Yeah.
which was that, I was saying to him via email, well, where am I at on the priority list? Because I know things are prioritized. When I was here in October, Chair Sweeney said to me, no worries. I'm putting this out for bid and we'll move forward. And that was in October. So I'm thinking, and it's a 2022 project, he said. That will be a 2022 project. So now, I don't know where it stands, but I feel like, it's not just the infiltration issue, there's an easement agreement between myself and the township that has been breached. And I'm losing land. So that's what I'm serving up to you tonight is, how can we rectify this and remediate this?
no, I think the study was done. Jamie, do you have an update on this? A site visit was
That's what I
conducted.
reported earlier.
Yeah.
Early in the beginning of the meeting, before you had come, I've already talked about it.
Okay,
I said that it was the anticipated construction cost would be probably between $30,000 and $40,000 to do it for the bank stabilization, to preserve the stream bank and to preserve the sewer. But obviously, to move forward, I would need the authority's authorization to do that. But we did discuss it prior to you coming.
But
I
we
tried to
don't
get them
have
back
any
to work.
bids on that.
But we don't have any
Yes.
design on it.
Yeah,
We haven't designed anything because we haven't been authorized to do that.
okay, okay.
But I just wanted to tell the board where it was and what the anticipated costs were.
Yeah, we would have needed that information, I think, before the meeting to put it on the agenda. So, what can you do so that we have something? Like I can't, obviously, we don't know what it's gonna cost. I mean, it's just, we're gonna put the work out to bid. Are all the, I mean, it's my understanding that we were going to get the engineering done on this so that we could be prepared to send it out for bid.
this meeting.
That's what I thought we were,
I didn't know that we were ever authorized to prepare a design and bid
yeah,
package.
I mean,
If we are, we can certainly do that.
I'd have to go back and look at the past minutes.
Yeah, if you want to do a motion, I'm sorry, if you want to do a motion to amend the agenda to authorize Jamie to prepare the bid package.
Yeah,
I think that this is, an environmental situation that rises to the level that you can do that.
okay. Okay, so we'll make sure he gets the appropriate drawings done and is authorized to do
I think
that.
you need a motion
I would
to,
make a motion to amend our agenda to authorize McCombie to look at those plans.
I was just trying to
Or
explain.
actually, I
what
would
we
put
were
that
gonna
on the
do.
agenda item.
yeah, I'm sorry, but it'll be two motions.
Yeah,
to
two
get around.
motions. So
Yep.
so just so you know what we're gonna do, we're gonna amend the agenda and then we'll make the motion to have these drawings done.
okay.
So that then we can officially move forward to get bids to determine how much it's going to cost. And then we'll have to authorize that as well. So,
Okay.
okay,
So
but we can get
who
the
will
ball rolling
communicate?
tonight. I'm sorry?
Should I continue to communicate with Dave or?
Yes, I would continue to communicate with
Okay.
Dave. Okay?
All
After
right.
tonight, he'll
Thank
have
you.
more information
All right.
because he'll be authorized to move forward. Okay, go
Thank you.
ahead.
So
Louis.
I will make a motion to amend the agenda to include a resolution to authorize McCombie to undertake a review of this property at, I don't remember the address.
314 Summit.
Summit. And that's my motion.
Okay?
I second that motion.
All right, all those,
I think we just
No.
want to have you authorize, there's no reason for a
Yeah,
resolution.
it doesn't have to be a resolution.
Okay?
okay, just a
Great.
motion.
Yeah, just a motion.
Okay. So he'll revise that, I guess, to a motion. Is that okay, Louis?
Yeah, authorize.
Okay.
Great.
All right, all those in favor?
Was there a second?
All right, now,
Who's in second?
second was Mark.
Okay.
Oh, I missed it. I'm sorry.
All those in favor, we all agreed. Now we actually need the motion. So go ahead, Louis. Motion.
And I'll make a motion to
I think you
authorize.
can just say, you make that motion. We
Make
know
that
how to get it into the minutes.
Okay,
Good, thank you.
all right. We need a motion and then a
Second.
second from Mark Kay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good.
So
All right.
may I just offer one comment? This sounds like there are two people on this board that were here probably when this was discussed in the past. Three of us were not on this board. If in fact there was an authorization prior to this meeting, or there was discussion and direction, and the fact that, and again, I'm not saying we don't have a record of it, but the fact that it's not on some tickler list of open items and a report provided to this board of open items, which have to be worked on by the engineers, to me, is less than acceptable. When this authorization or even reauthorization has to be recorded, it has to be on a to-do list, a tickler list that we have an opportunity to review at our monthly meeting. And we can say, it's taken 60 days, it's taken 6 months, it's taken 18 months. And for me, that would be very, very helpful. But to have people refer to past dates and past authorizations, and I hear fellow board members acknowledging, yeah, we talked about this, we're waiting for this. That to me is the authorizations that we provide. Somebody needs to update us on as to where they are. You did from our last meeting on a whole host of issues. You came back to us, Mr. McCombie, and updated us in depth. We just need that on everything. And I'm not saying, I don't know what happened to it a year ago, if it did happen or it didn't happen, but having any doubt makes me very uncomfortable. And I'm unpleasant when I get uncomfortable. I'm sorry. Thank you. No more comment.
Agreed. Good comment. All right, at this point, I will adjourn the meeting unless there's anything
I think
else.
you gotta make sure there's no more public comment.
No more public comment? There's one more gentleman here. I apologize.
I was with her.
Okay, I knew they were together.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, at this point, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.